Hello and welcome to the Working at the Paint Store podcast. I'm Bill. Mike's here as well. We've got a great show for you today. A young, talented musician from our old stomping grounds on the South Plains of West Texas joins us today on the program.
Hello there, Brown Clown. What you know, man?
Not much, buddy. How about you? What's going on?
This has been a busy day and about to get busier.
You are the busiest man in show business, I think.
Well, it's a full life.
I understand.
Mike, you and Stevie used to have some of the silliest dad jokes. Surely you've got one to share with me today. Come on.
Okay, so that one kid is in the room and it's full of toys, and he's balling like nobody's business, and he's just throwing the toys, and the other kid is a room and it's just full of horse shit. And he's just happy, biggest smile, and da. So, the guy asked the kid, well, you're in a room full of horse shit. Why are you so happy? And he says, well, with this much horse shit, there's got to be a pony somewhere. So that's my silver lining.
That's a good one.
Buddy, there's got to be a friggin' pony somewhere.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good way to think of it.
Yeah, and that's like I said. You know me. I'm a giver.
You are a giver.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually full of baloney.
Do we have our guest on?
Hey, yeah, just got on. Can you hear me?
Hey, Asher, how are you?
Awesome.
What's great?
Hey, Asher, what's up?
Hey, just at home today mostly.
Let's kick this thing off. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Well, Asher, you are a hometown product of Plains, musically talented. Understand you're going to South Plains College as a aspiring musician. Tell us about your desire to create music.
Yeah, so I got started, man, it's probably like junior year of high school. I was actually homeschooled, so we moved to the Lubbock area in around, I guess it was 2011, and then I went to Ropes Middle School for a while, and then was actually homeschooled through all of my high school. And about junior year, I picked up guitar. I'd always played piano a little bit, but kind of lost interest as I got older, and just really started to enjoy it there. And I feel like probably I was spending at least an hour or two a day, which was strange for me, compared to what I had practiced in piano. I realize now that an hour or two a day practicing an instrument's not as much as I thought it was, but I feel like I progressed pretty quickly through there. And then it was about a year after that, year and a half, I got a banjo just to fool around with and started going to South Plains College for their bluegrass program. And it's kind of just gone from there.
That is a great musical college. Many would think of North Texas as a musical environment, but for those that don't know the magic of what South Plains College has been for years, even when Mike and I was in school, they really cater to musical engineers and aspiring musicians of all levels. They used to come play on a flatbed trailer at events in Plains and all over the South Plains. Do you know the history behind that program?
Oh man, I wish I could tell you in depth. From what I remember, I think it was around the 60s or 70s. I wish I could tell you the names and the specific dates. I just kind of have a general overview. They started as a commercial music program, and from what I believe, it was kind of the first of its kind as something that focused on training and putting out, more of touring musicians or professional musicians compared to the traditional classically trained, or I would think of like, I would think there was a lot of more jazz schools at that time. But yeah, and it's just gone from there, in and out of different faculty and stuff.
That musical style of the South Plains, red dirt country, is that what you gravitate towards? Is that sound that you're looking for? We played a cut of yours from YouTube, and I heard a soulful type, storytelling type. Is that what you want to be identified as?
Yeah, I feel like I would. Just getting into songwriting recently, it's not something that I've especially gravitated towards at this point, but it's starting to become more interesting. I've jotted down some stuff. I actually haven't completed a full song yet, but I would say generally staying away from more of the Nashville sound. It just, at this point, it doesn't feel authentic to what they're even singing about. Whenever they sing about country, I feel like it's a completely different culture than what I was raised in and would want to continue in my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's so much different now. You hear a lot of rap riffs and
Right, yeah.
lyrics
You know?
in some of the most popular country artists these days, don't you?
Right. And so I feel like what I miss the most is in more of that style of music is traditional instruments. So like I feel like there's not, a lot of fiddle playing. I've noticed there's not a whole lot of solos in a lot of that music, and a lot of that I think is just catering to the new listening base. I've heard that songwriters are told to put a chorus earlier on in order to hook the listener better because people get bored quicker now, and extended solos are not as interesting as another chorus again. So that's something that, I would definitely move towards is just the skill of being able to play instruments and to create something interesting that's not just a copy and paste.
What does an education, musical education, look like at South Plains College? Because there's those that like to sit around, pick, and even have some weekend gigs to get together with some friends. But it's kind of like an athlete going and playing at the college level, the way I think of it in my tiny little brain. In that, when you go and take that step for the college education life, it's more work that it is the fun days when you were just hanging out. Is that the case? And does that passion have to kind of be there, that drive, the hunger? And what do you see yourself becoming someday? Do you aspire to be a touring type artist?
So there is, at least what I'm doing the commercial music degree, and that's a 2-year program that provides an overview of the music industry, I would say as a whole. So I've taken, oh, let me think now. I'm almost done. I'm actually, this is going to be my last semester there. Let me think of kind of the progression that I've done through there. There is man, I wouldn't know to what level of music theory that they teach there. I mean, I know that there's 2 classes. I couldn't compare it to another school, but I feel like I'm very prepared in most situations that I play. I mean, it's a lot of the time if I'm ever at a gig and I'll just be, watching a band about to go up, and if they know me, they'll ask me questions about something particular in the song. So it's definitely got a great, theory program for, professional musicians. Now, if you were doing classical stuff, really heavy jazz, I would say, not that you couldn't learn more classes there. I'm not really aware of that sort of stuff. And then there's also classes for the business side of things. So an overview of money cuts in, common record deals where all that money's moving to publishers and how much a venue's going to expect to make off of a performance. But all of that is pushing towards getting us ready to play live, essentially. You have audition ensembles here at SPC that you audition for at the beginning of the semester, and then once you're into those, it's a pretty intensive practice schedule and rehearsal to produce a show, at least halfway through the semester.
And this is an industry that you want to become a performer in, or work in some aspect throughout your adult life?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I've been playing, it's funny, it's at this point gigs are getting in the way of classes, which is awesome. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. At this point, I've been turning down gigs even because I can't keep up with just the still trying to finish my schooling and playing a bunch of pickup gigs, playing different instruments with different artists. Um, but yeah, I'd really like to continue it, especially in I'd say the live music portion of this. Now, SPC does have a program for live sound engineering as well as like studio. I don't know the right word for that one, but if you wanted to pursue like a studio degree to work in a recording studio, you could do that also. But I would say for me, I'm generally the most drawn to live performance.
Do you watch American Idol and think maybe this would be the launching pad. Is that a hot thing now for youngsters? Because it seems like when I watch it on Sundays that there is so much talent across the country, and yet some of the best performers are the ones that are in like Levelland, Texas, or Podunk, Alabama, and just
Right.
sing with their friends, and they carry Underwood themselves into a national stardom.
Right. I really don't watch a lot of TV in general, but I would say the the biggest thing right now for young artists trying to make it to popularity is social media. I mean, there's really no comparison because, like, just for example, I've got a friend at school. I've got several friends at school who have posted a video on TikTok and gotten over, 500,000 views.
Wow.
And I don't know exactly what the view count for American Idol is, but coming from, I mean, as just a phone recording,
Wow.
and over a 500,000 views for something like that. That's a really big resource for us right now, and making it out into the mainstream and out into the public.
Well, this may not be your first interview, but it's probably to your smallest audience. The Working at the Paint Store podcast, I think, has 24 or 25 downloads per session. So consider yourselves that you are spending time with some guys that are aspiring in the online world to do exactly what you're doing as far as music goes, using
Right.
the
Well,
broad, yeah,
that's still a big room.
yeah,
I
using
mean,
broadcast skills and interviewing skills and relationships to find a niche in today's technology. And you're also the youngest to ever be on the Working at the Paint Store podcast.
really? Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Mike,
Asher,
Mike is the oldest, of course.
yes, I am the oldest, and Asher, you can take all of that and $1 and get yourself a big gulp at 7-Eleven.
All righty.
Just FYI, being the youngest on working at the paint store, it's a very esteemed honor.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, we're
You know,
we're a young product, and you're one of our first guests, and Mike has talked a lot about you. I know your family from back when we were in Yoakum County, and although you probably haven't lived there, as you mentioned, in a while, your roots run deep in the South
Right.
Plains,
Yeah.
as do ours.
Man, I'm back over there every other week. It feels like though.
Tell us, is the Meta musical still going on over there next door to Ropes?
The Meadow Musical.
Yeah, have you ever heard of the Meta musical, in Meta, Texas?
Man, it kind of sounds familiar, but I haven't recently. I know of a Meadow Bluegrass Jam.
Yes. They used to have
I don't-
every 2 weeks, or was it once a month, Mike, or every 2 weeks? Do you remember that? And then Pep, do they still play at the little community of Pep outside of Levelland?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Pep.
Pep used to have a dance once a month, and those all those kids from Hockley County and Yoakum County and Morton would come over to Pep, and it'd be a bunch of high school kids drinking beer, and their parents that allowed that at the time. It was a much different culture. But the,
Right,
the pep dance was the thing to do, to go and meet girls and dance.
right. Well, I
Well,
know, and there's a Alpo's Bar in Muleshoe. That's not terribly far, but that's the only thing I could think of that would be comparable to that.
yeah. Well, Mike,
hey, Asher,
Yes, sir.
is Lloyd Main still teaching at the college?
I don't believe
St-
so.
Still guitar?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay.
No, there's
It was, it
no
was a
steel
long,
guitar at this moment at the
it was,
school.
it was a long time ago, but he used to be a steel guitar teacher there in the music department.
Okay.
there's a lot of talk in this education debate that's going on. I don't know how deep your political roots go. Probably not huge, and that's probably a good thing. But the homeschool education versus public school education, you're seeing a mix of those now that you're at South Plains College. What do you draw from that? Is there any comparisons or noticeable differences in the environment of the educational background that you come to, and now you have peers that may have gone to public school? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty broad question. Be the difference. I mean, definitely the homeschooled students a usually have a better start in the music side of things because they're not, you know, they have generally more free time or they're allowed to focus more time on something like music. So I would say if there's ever anybody who comes into school, and I can think of and at least 4 or 5 students who I know personally that have either gone to SPC or are still there that they were homeschooled and started going to school before they were even graduated with high school.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You have a very conversational young person's attitude, which is uncommon, seems like, from the high school students that I deal with on a daily basis through broadcasting high school sports. It seems like there's a hesitancy, not as open, whereas seems to me through my experience and those that I've been involved with, that the homeschool environment allows you to not necessarily taking vacations, but you're able to travel with your parents, or you're able to do things outside of the structured 7 to 5 educational format, which kind of makes you grow up, or makes you more real and not limited by a test or a subject or things that your peer group might get in a formal traditional education. Maybe just me, but that's my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely say that provides you a lot of opportunities to be doing things that people your age usually can't. So, I was working on the farm quite a bit during high school. That was something I wouldn't have been able to do. And so I would say doing that and being around a lot of men at that point, um, just working with my dad and his business, I spent a lot of time among older men. So I could see how that would kind of get me ready for the professional world.
Yeah. So where does life take you in this next few years? You mentioned you're into your education. What's the completion of education goals, and then what in the next 3 years would you like to see yourself doing?
Yeah, I've as of right now, I'm going to be, finishing up my studies at school. So by next fall, I'm going to be, wide open to do whatever. I recently had the opportunity to play with Jared Morris. He's a country western singer-songwriter from the Decatur area. And I played with him. I went all the way up to North Dakota on a little weekend tour, and he told me that, he gave me 17 more shows and said he wants me to play him with him. So in May, I think May the 22nd, we're going to be leaving for a 3-week tour through the Northwest. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking at as the next big thing on my plate right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And what kind of event venues would this be considered? Are these rodeos? Or these small venue concerts? Are they opening for a band that might play at a college town, or what does that look like?
So as of right now, I really don't know because I haven't looked into it. All he sent me were locations and days. And at that point, I'm on the bus and don't really have a say. Anyways, but generally with him, we're playing small venue bars, clubs.
Yeah.
We did the one in North Dakota was the North Dakota Winter Show, and we opened for Jared Neiman, and that was more of like a fair that they have up there, fair and rodeo, and we were playing the kind of the introduction to it, the kickoff party, and so I imagine that's what it'll be like moving up through Colorado and Wyoming and Idaho.
So do you take a band with you? Or are you a solo singer-songwriter with an instrument, or do you have you part of a band? What does that look like?
So I'm actually part of his band.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't specify. Yeah, it was full band. I played auxiliary, so that's acoustic guitar and banjo, and I think I'm going to be moving on to maybe some electric and possibly some keys, just kind of auxiliary to fill in the gaps of whatever we feel like we need for the song.
Very interesting. Have you got social media to promote your musical productions that we can share with the 26 people that listen to the Working at the Paint Store podcast?
Yeah, I do. I can tell you it's AsherWall05 is my Instagram handle, and I believe it's the same for Facebook.
We'll certainly post that in the show notes, and when we share this, would appreciate a listen and a follow as well.
Yes, sir.
Mike, you want to chime in here and take
Well,
take anything on with this young man?
yeah, I was just wondering where you were gigging at. You said you were playing all over Texas, so just out of curiosity, if someone heard the thing through you posting this on your social media or us posting it on the various options we might have, if somebody wanted to catch you, where could we see Asher play at in the next few months?
Right. I've actually got two shows with Jared Morris, not part of the tour, but a weekend coming up in, let's see, that will be April 11th and 12th, in Amarillo. So if anybody's out there listening in Amarillo, I'll be up there April 11th and then 12th in Colorado Springs.
That's pretty cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
We'd welcome you
Hey.
to come back on and share your journey with us as we continue ours.
We,
Yeah, of
we,
course. That'd
we,
be fun.
we'd love to have you as a friend of the show, young man. We're both very impressed with how you carried yourself and your talent and everything. With that being said, do you have a favorite country song that you like?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a cover, would it be a George Strait song? Would it be a Toby Keith song? Would it be Tim McGraw? Who would be the go-to cover that Asher would do?
It'd have to be George Strait.
You like George Strait?
Yes, sir.
Which George Strait song do you like?
Oh, all of them?
Well, that's a good answer. Have you actually seen George in concert?
No, I've never seen him in concert before.
Well, I saw him and Toby Keith both, and George just sits on the stool and plays one song right after another. He reminds me a little bit of your granddad. He is a rancher, and he sits there and plays one. It's like buying his album. Now, Toby Keith, on the other hand, he was, from an entertainment point of view, he was talking to the audience. He was telling us how he and his buddy wrote the song and how they smoked weed in the bus with Willie, and he was just hilarious. Now, and Tim McGraw, he was like a big star. He was just unbelievable. But all three of them were incredible.
Yeah, that sounds like that was a blast.
Yeah, they were. I mean, and I'm sure you're just going through it now. You're going to get the same thrills from seeing some of your guys that you grew up with. But I understand I like George too, and I'm sure Bill does too. Well, it's hard to be in Texas and not like George Strait.
Oh yeah, he's king. He's our generation's Bob Wills, I suppose,
Yeah,
or
I think thinking about it, I like the chair.
mm-hmm.
That one's great.
Yeah. But I probably could name two or three others. I mean, if if we went down the list, we probably talk for another 15 minutes about those three guys of who we like, who we don't like. But still, anyway,
What are folks when they come out to see Asher Wall? What do they get? Do they get a show experience? Do they get an intimate musical engagement? How do you connect with that audience?
Well, it depends a lot about what kind of crowd it is. So if I'm playing solo, at this point, it's mostly in restaurants and small venues like that. I would say more of the storytelling is what I like to do, kind of more of an intimate experience there. I like to do a lot of Marty Robbins, things that are more lyric heavy. I think that makes it more interesting than just strumming a G chord, on the on the guitar and saying the same lyrics over and over again. Which, if you have a lead guitar and a fiddle, you can get away with that because they're doing something.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, brings me to that. I do play full band, so the 5th of April, I'm going to play in Sweetwater for Rodeo Banquet, and I'll bring a full band down there. I'll have, of course, drums and bass, but also a piano player and fiddle and guitar, and I'll probably hop on lead a little bit, and we'll play, whatever they want to dance to. So I try to pull together a good collection of classics, anywhere from Western swing to 90s country, and then even some rock songs I like throw in there, some Stevie Ray Vaughan if I could tell they're getting into it later on in the night. But for that sort of stuff, I just like to showcase the musicians that I have with me, as well as just, how good the songs are.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing like being stage. We had a talent team in Plains, and in fact, the kid from Ropes is the one that won state one year when we were in Area 2. Y'all were in Area 1 at the FFA State Convention, but never got beyond just strumming a Les Paul custom that my dad bought me. But during my broadcasting days, the passion that I get from calling a winning run or a three-pointer that goes in or a touchdown that's an overtime win or a district championship, the same feeling that you experience up there on stage, I can relate to, because that's what I do and the reason I do it. And so
Right.
that hunger and that drive and that passion of knowing you have a God-given talent, and to be at peace, you have to share it with others, or it drives you insane to not be able to get it out. That I think I can hear that in your story.
Right. That's exactly right.
To be sane, you have to share.
Right.
Yeah. Well, sure enjoyed visiting with you today. And Mike set this up and everything, but again, I knew your family from my days on the South Plains, and spoke very highly of you, and you've handled yourself really, really well, and I think good things and stars are in the forecast for you, and I wish you all the well. Stay on that narrow path and do what you believe in, and there's people out there that want to carry you astray. You know that. This is the dad talking now, and the granddad. Stay true to yourself, and don't buy into that stuff that goes on that derails people for life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job, man. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you for having me on.
All right.
Hey, Asher, best of luck, man. You're gonna be able to. Someday we'll see you on the Grammys, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but when you're on MTV and they say, "How did you get your start?" through interviewing, you've really done a good job on the interview skills. You got to tell them, "Well, I was on the Working on the Paint Store podcast when I was in college back in 2025, and that got me launched."
Right.
Yeah. All right, man. All
Hey,
right.
take care.
See you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
See you, fellas.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Great show. Thanks, fellas. Asher, all the best to you. We're very impressed with you and wish you all the success. Break a leg. Stay safe out there on those highways from gig to gig. Mike, that's going to do it for the show. As always, it's good to share some time with you.
I'll see you. Take care.
All right. See you in a little bit. And I want to personally remind you that if you're struggling with something that has you bogged down, maybe it's been a struggle that you've dealt with for many years, alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatever it may be, that's in the back of your mind, you're saying, I just don't want to do this anymore. Trust me, help is available and recovery is phenomenal. So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's the worst thing that can happen, is to think that you've got this covered and that you can get by. Because time keeps on ticking. People get hurt, relationships are lost, and they're harder to make up. But what a blessing it is to ask for help and get it, and then get rid of those demons that plague you. You know what I'm talking about, those mind games. That's going to do it for this episode of the Working at the Paint Store podcast, brought to you by BB5K Sound. Leave comments in the show notes below or email me ideas at bill@bb5ksound.com. And for all the criticism, those go to Mike.
Exactly.
May God bless each and every one of you. Have a great day, everybody.